Instagram is if you have questions. Oh, you got to flip it around, Lee. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. We want this to be as interactive as possible. And we will be handling these questions as we go. So there we go. So what's going on, Lee? How are you?
Man, it's been a busy and crazy week, and I'm loving it. Absolutely. We're making big stuff happen.
Listen, if it was easy, it'd be boring, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. Absolutely.
So we're offline. We're talking about what's today's topic of conversation going to be, what's going to be relevant to our audience, and how can we help them today? And I'm reading this awesome book by an author by the name of Brian Kurtz, and he's got this book called Over Deliver. I've been digging into it the past week. Brian Kurtz, cool. I really like what he's talking about. He's a direct response marketer. For those folks who don't know what direct response marketing is, I think Lee would be a better person to give you that definition because he's a direct response copywriter, and he could probably answer that question a hell of a lot better than me. So let's talk about that, and then we'll get into 7 characteristics of a great entrepreneur.
Cool. Okay. Well, just the 30-second version, I hope. So if you're advertising on television where you really have no means of like measuring who's watching and who's interacting, so to speak, who's buying, then it's impossible to tell. But with direct response marketing, where you're actually measuring the outcome, you're measuring those responses because, when they say yes to their offer, they're doing that through a mechanism that you can track. So, figure 30 years ago, it would be you'd get an 8-page sales letter in the mail.
Yep.
Today, it's you land on a website selling, whatever it is that people have targeted you for based on your interest on social media.
Yeah. So here's a compelling message. Here's a compelling offer. We want you to take action on this offer right now. That's direct response. So you're directly responding, right? And then on the back end of that, it's all trackable. So the person who is marketing you knows where every sale is coming from, every lead is coming from. Very, very important to understand that. So as we get into the 7 characteristics, so he had a list of 7 characteristics of a world-class copywriter. I read that list and said, you need to be this list could really explain a world-class entrepreneur as well. And so I want to share with you the 7 characteristics. And if you want to tackle that book, I highly recommend you go get it. It's a great book. But the first characteristics of a great entrepreneur, he says, is being hungry and staying hungry and being hungry for whatever it is that you want to accomplish in life or do in life. And I feel there's a lot of, there's that passive income, right? There's this passive income theory that's going out these days, and it's picking up a lot of momentum. All you have to do is create a course, and that's passive income. You don't have to do any more work, right? And your PayPal and bank account or your Stripe account will just be ringing in the cash. And that is so far from the truth. And I just want to make that clear. If you're not a hungry entrepreneur, then I recommend you go get a job. Like if you're a person who doesn't have that hunger inside of them, stay working 9 to 5. Stay working 9 to 5 because being an entrepreneur, if you're not hungry, you will die. You will die.
For real, I don't care how many people roll up in videos in their Maseratis, man. There are a hell of a lot easier ways to make a living.
So, having that insatiable hunger to help people, okay, become somebody, right? I think a lot of us are dying to make something of ourselves. Well, that just doesn't happen overnight. It just doesn't happen with a flip of a button or one funnel or one sales page or one website or one Instagram account. Like, you really have to be hungry for what it is that you want. And when that happens, everything's going to change. I mean, everything is going to change. And you know what's going to happen? Your audience is going to see how hungry you are, and they're going to be attracted to that. Who would you rather spend a week in the jungle with? A lion or a deer?
Well, I mean, I could potentially be food for the lion, so there is a bit of a quandary, but I see what you're getting at.
Yeah, I mean that. So there's my point, right? So that's number one. Number two is curiosity, and this is something that I really want you, Lee, to talk about, because you ask really great questions, and as a copywriter, you do tremendous research, and so you have to have that curiosity. Why does a great entrepreneur need that curiosity?
Because what's going on in your buyer's head, the microcosm that's between their ears, looks a heck of a lot different than you think it does.
Mm.
It's never gonna match up. The whole thing is the deeper you get into their world and understand what's actually going on in their head, the better you can talk to them and the less you really have to sell.
Right. You know, that is very true. I think your audience has the answers. And I think a lot of times we as entrepreneurs, we try to find those answers in all the wrong ways. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we leverage our audience enough to really understand who they are, what they want, how they want it, and why they want it. So getting that understanding is going to make your marketing easier. It's going to make your branding easier. You know, there's a reason why I bring my Brand Accelerator clients through such a vigorous strategy process, because if we don't know what these ideal clients want from them, how the hell can we create a business around them?
You can't. You're constantly doing guesswork, and that means constantly putting band-aids on your business to try to figure out, or to adapt to what they want instead of figuring it out in the first place.
Right. So a little, you know, what amazes me about you, I remember you saying this a while back. You said 80% of my work is research. 20% of my work is the writing part.
It is. That's true.
And that was wild, because I thought it was the other way around. I really thought more went into the writing, but it makes so much sense now why it's flipped.
Right. Yeah. I tell people, look, you know, copywriters are a dime a dozen. I don't consider myself a copywriter. What I do, I would say would come closer to writing shotgun in your buyer's subconscious, because I want to know what's going on even better than they do. And you know, the copywriting is really secondary to that. Now, you do need to have the fundamentals, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But you know, really just when you understand what's actually going on in their minds and what it is that's bugging them, even when they don't really understand what the problem is, then you've got an open line of communication. They're listening to you.
Right. And I think when you are more curious about your audience, they're going to respect you more, because they know that you care that much, where you're actually even asking these questions. Right. And I think I've always been more attracted to people that ask more questions than the folks that did all the talking. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of new people jumping on Instagram. I just want to share with you guys. Today, we're talking about the 7 characteristics of a great entrepreneur. And we only got through 2 of them thus far. One is you have to have an unbelievable hunger for what it is that you do, or the hunger to help people or to make a difference, or whatever that is. If you don't have that hunger, entrepreneurship is not for you. The other thing is curiosity. And that's what we were just talking about. Being unbelievably curious about who it is that you want to serve and why you want to serve them, and what they need, what they want, what they desire, how they want it, is really, really important for us as business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, whatever you want to call yourself, to put out the right messaging, to put out the right content on social media, to write the right messages, to put out the right advertising to help you get the right response. So that's it. So the third thing is you got to have some kind of smarts. In plain English, you got to have some kind of smarts in the niche or in the market that you are in. Otherwise, why would anybody waste their time listening to you?
That's exactly right. It's having the fundamentals, the foundation, really.
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
I know.
Get
to that one.
But go ahead with that. I apologize. I got ahead of myself.
But you're absolutely right. I think people want to see what you've accomplished. They want to see that you're competent. They want to see that you're ready, willing, and able, and that you have some sort of competency. That's it. I mean, at the end of the day, anybody can write copy. Anybody can design a website now. Anybody, right? What smarts do you have that will differentiate you from everybody else? So again, I want to encourage everybody that's either on YouTube, because we're streaming this live on YouTube too, or on Instagram. If you have questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the comments. We want to keep this interactive. We want to bring you guys on the show and make you part of it. So any questions that you have about entrepreneurship, marketing, digital marketing, design, copywriting, whatever, drop them in the comments, and we will keep this conversation amongst us, not just between me and Lee. So we have hunger, we have curiosity, we have smarts, we have passion. How do you feel about this? Because I am sort of wishy-washy on this. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of folks that say, follow your passion, and the money will come.
I look, I gotta poop on this one, because look, it's there. I see a lot of people following a lot of passions and not getting anywhere, but they look really damn busy doing it. I mean, I choose purpose over passion every time, because look, let's face it, I'm not passionate about everything that I have to do to create an amazing message for a client. Okay, some of that is cultivated. Part of it is just dragging yourself to the keyboard and going, okay, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm not going to do it. That's not passion. That's purpose. People think that passion means that every day is going to be an amazing day, and you're never going to have any problems, because it's just going to be just so amazing. It's so awesome. Turn passion into purpose, because purpose is what's going to drive you when things turn to shit.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the other thing I would ask is your passion profitable? Is your passion profitable? If it's not profitable, then you have a hobby, and that's fine. That's fine. But you can't call yourself an entrepreneur. You can't call yourself, a business owner. It's just not, it's not real. It's not realistic. So be very careful with how passionate you are about something and whether or not it's business worthy, right? I think a lot of things that people forget is, do I have a viable product or service that people actually want to buy? There's a lot of shit out there that people are trying to sell that people wouldn't buy if they had their last dollar, right? So paying attention to that is very important. So yes, be passionate about what it is that you do, but ask yourself the question: is this a business or is this a hobby? Okay. Now, your favorite, Lee. Understanding. So this is 1, 2. So we have hunger, curiosity, smarts, passion, and the next one is understanding the fundamental principles of what it is that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. It drives me insane when I see people wanting to bypass that because they see the gurus, the experts at a much higher level, and they want to skip all of the over everything and go right to being a rock star, and that's a pipe dream. That's not a business.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's like, look, when I was late teens, early 20s, I had the pipe dream of like being on stage and, like a metal band and, being in front of tens of thousands of girls that are like doing this with their shirts and, snorting coke off the strippers' asses and everything. But, I honestly, when it came around to it, I had very little musical talent to begin with. And I really wasn't willing to apply myself to get to the level of good that I would need to be to have, people doing this, because it wasn't for me. So, I mean, it remained a pipe dream. And, I want to heavily emphasize that if you're going to be in business, you've got to learn the fundamentals, whether it's copywriting or design or whatever it is that you do, you can't bypass that.
Yeah.
Because you have to know the rules in order to break them.
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love that statement. And it's so true. A lot of the Brand Accelerator clients that do sign up and they do come into the program are ones that typically have tried it without understanding the fundamentals, failed miserably, and now say to themselves, shit, I need to get this right this time because I can't afford another loss like the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it for the purpose of understanding why it's so important to understand the fundamentals. Now, here's a question coming in from Eli Healing. It's a little off topic. But let's see if we can tie it in somehow. He wants to know tips for interacting with your audience. So I'll share one, right? Watch what we're doing right now. This is interacting with your audience. So go live on YouTube, go live on Instagram, encourage more questions from your audience. It's that simple. But here's where everybody gets mixed up or they get stuck. They don't know what questions to ask because they haven't done the homework. So what you need to do is ask more questions to your audience, and you're going to see how that engagement increases because they want to tell you, but you're not asking. Lee?
I was just going to go with blatant antagonism, but I like your answer better.
Just antagonize the hell out of them until they do something.
I dare you to comment. Come on, Nancy boy.
Right. I mean, going live, asking questions, asking them for feedback, playing games, having a contest. I know Ty Lopez is doing this a lot where, $100 for the best comment of, and then he says something silly and then everybody goes crazy on his page or on his post. I mean, you could do that if you have the marketing capital to do it. I would refrain from doing that personally because I just don't want a bunch of random comments. I want comments from people that I would actually consider doing business with or somebody who I could see myself working with or collaborating with later on in the near future. Again, I was never a big fan of the giveaways of the iPads and the iPhones and this and that because people will just do it just to get the iPhone. They don't give a shit about you. And that's not that I want everybody to care about me. That's not what I mean. But I mean, those folks are just participating because they want a prize. It's
Yeah.
nothing more. And that to me is not a good way to create engagement.
No, it isn't. Yeah, I mean, as Dad said, somebody's crushing it with those things, and it's not you or me, and that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Yeah, I mean, it's a great way. I mean, listen, go to Ty Lopez's page. He's got like 5,000 comments when he does that. That's fantastic. But I'd rather have 23 comments of people that I really enjoy interacting with than 5,000 strangers that would never buy from me in a million years and just wants $100. Like, it's a completely different.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's a different level of engagement.
Yeah, it's a more selective level of engagement, and I would definitely prefer to have a dozen people who I could actually interact with on a deep level than 5,000 people who are just commenting just to try to win a prize. I absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
it's a for the people but people get it in their heads. They're like, well, it works for so and so, so maybe I should try this. It's like, you leave that for the people it works for.
right. I mean, these guys are household names, right? At this point, right? Of course it's going to work for those guys. Of course. Because they want that. They want that. There's got to be a reason why they want that. Listen, go for it. But the majority of the folks out there are not the Ty Lopez's. They're not the those big name, the Grant Cardones, and so you're not going to get the same response, and you're not going to get the same quality of lead coming in doing those things. So getting back to the 7 characteristics of a great entrepreneur, okay? Yeah. Hunger, curiosity, smarts, passion, understanding the fundamental principles of what it is that you do. And the next one is humility. One of the things that I really appreciate about seasoned entrepreneurs, business owners, is how open they are and willing they are to talk about their losses, to talk about their mistakes, to talk about their war stories. People say you gotta fail to learn a lesson. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the one doing the failing, right? It's funny. Grant Cardone, as much as I don't care for him, he said something in an interview that hit me, and I would love to get your response on this, Lee. He said, I don't believe in that statement where, you have to constantly be failing. He's like, did you get married to fail? Like, what if we got married and in order to have a good marriage, we would have to fail at it a 1,000 times? Does that make sense? And I was like, well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. That's a very interesting way of looking at it. And so he was like, I don't think failing is the key to learning a lesson. I think doing is the key to learning a lesson.
Okay. Well, I think we're at a place of semantics here, because what he's considering failing and what the mainstream is considering failing are using the word the fail in 2 very different ways. When we talk about failure, we're talking about a process that doesn't work out the way we intended, that we can use to course correct. Jordan Peterson says that that you are done with a memory when you've extracted the information you need to proceed better next time. So what those things are opportunities to extract that data and to build. Okay. A marriage covenant is something completely different. That's a religious prescript that has absolutely nothing to do with building a business. So it's an apples and asphalt scenario here.
There you go.
Oh, Grant, I said
I love it. So Santoro Design on Instagram says, everything you're saying is great. I appreciate this. I think the one thing that I hate about marketing via social media is the amount of swill out there. Right? This is the first time I ever heard of it. Swill out there from faux entrepreneurs and scammers.
Fauxpreneurs. Ooh, we just made up a new word. I'm going to have to see if Google domain has that. So somebody beats me to it. Fauxpreneurs.
Fauxpreneurs.com.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, listen, Santoro. I mean, we feel the same exact way. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind, when you come across these guys or gals, the bullshit meter goes way off the scale. I mean, Lee's had his own experiences too with these folks. And, I just say that time will always tell who's real and who's not.
Just watch what they do. I mean, it's not hard to spot people who aren't walking the talk.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's healthy to be skeptical in today's online environment because there are so many people, even well-known people, who are still making a killing, who are notorious for not delivering what they promise. So there is a caveat emptor vibe going on here, but if you watch somebody, you'll find out who's aligned with their words and who's not.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's a lot of the successful folks that I've come in contact with over the past years I've been in entrepreneur world, and even in my life. I mean, they didn't really say much about it. Like they weren't real boasty about it. It was like you found out about their success through other people. Mm-hmm. They were never the ones saying, "Oh, I did this, I did that," and I see a lot of that online, and it's just like, I just can't align with it. I mean, yes, do I think you should build credibility? Do I think you should build authority? There's 1,000 ways to Sunday to do all of that, right? But for you to be like, well, I did this and I did that and I did this and I'm this guy and I'm that guy, like you can tell these guys from separate these guys from a mile away, because just look at certain people's Instagram bios. Just look at people's Instagram bios. There's two types of bios out there. There's customer centric, and then there's egocentric. And when I see these bios, I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that. Okay, that's cool. But what are you going to do for me? Like, as a consumer, that's what anybody cares about. That's what anyone cares about. So look at your Instagram bio, look at your bios on LinkedIn, look at your bios on other platforms and ask yourself, is it speaking to the customer? So I just recently redid mine. So I said the go-to for personal branding. That's how it starts. And then underneath it says attract or grow your following, because I know my clients want to grow their following. They want to increase their impact, right? They want to scale their expertise. They want to take what they do and scale it, right? And they truly want to leverage their influence. They want to take the influence that they have and leverage that to help more people. And so that is the three things that and then it says, watch this video. And this video is a quick little 26-minute video that really gives you the 5 steps to scaling your business. And I share with you case studies. So it's not just about how I did it, it's how I helped my clients do it. And that's where you can really showcase credibility and showcase authority without being me, 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 me.
Yeah. I refuse to call myself an expert.
Mm.
Other people will, and that's fine. I will never call myself an expert because that gives me the idea that I know everything there is to know, and there is never everything there is to know
No.
because it's constantly evolving.
Yeah. I mean, you'll never know. Well, I'll never know everything about branding, design, funnels. There's just so much out there. So, you just have to let the other people call you the experts, call you the guru. I mean, I never would ever in a million years either consider myself that, knowing how much I don't know.
Mhm.
Right? How much I don't know. So
Right.
this, which leads me into the seventh characteristic of a great entrepreneur. So just to recap, great entrepreneurs are hungry, they're curious, they're smart, they understand the fundamental principles of what it is that their craft is. They have a sense of humility to them and aren't afraid to share vulnerabilities. And last but not least, it's how they share their successes. And I kind of talked about this a little bit just now, but Lee, I'll kick this one over to you for you to kick off. How they share their successes.
You always have to be just as aware of what's going on in your customer's mind as you are what's going on in your own mind. When you're looking, if you were looking out through that particular set of eyeballs, thinking with that set of neurons, how would you perceive what you're putting out there? Would you be receptive or would you be off put?
Mm.
And it takes stepping outside yourself, and that's a hard thing to do.
It is.
But if you can do that even for a moment, is to just step out and be the observer, okay, and step into your client's shoes, your prospect's shoes, and just read it from their perspective. I mean, I encourage all my clients to write journal entries about their from their ideal clients' perspectives about the problems that they're solving, right? Because that takes you out of your own head, and that's 90% of messaging, is just knowing what they need to hear in order to relieve enough guilt and to instill enough motivation to get them to take action.
Mm. Mm. So is there, and I've asked this to Gary Vee personally, and he couldn't give me an answer.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Gary, if he can answer you and you think I can, okay.
Yes. Yes. I think.
Let's go.
All right. So I asked him. So he, last year, the year before, his big spiel was empathy, right? He even came out with a wine company called Empathy Wines, right? And when I was at Wine Library, he was talking about empathy. I said, how does one become more empathetic? And he said, I don't know. So my question to you, Lee, is, and I'm sure my audience is going to want to know this too, is our audience. How does one put themselves in the other person's shoes?
Well, first of all, I'm going to get, a little bit pain in the butt with it and say that I don't think that you can become more empathetic.
Okay.
And it's a reason for that. It's like, how do you desire not to desire? If you realize that, that being happy involves not desiring, not having attachments, but if you desire not to desire, that in itself is desiring. So, and the same thing with empathy, when you're trying, if you are trying to force yourself to become more empathetic, it's not going to happen because it's going to be forced. Now, in terms of where you can actually do that is to just observe where they are, what they're talking about in Facebook groups. As we say, we I always recommend finding Amazon books that are about the topic and then going to reviews about that.
Mm.
Any place where they're talking, where they think that marketers really aren't listening, where they're not on guard, is a fantastic place to build that. But you don't want to start with the idea of like, this is what I understand my customers to be, and I'm going to use this stuff to validate that. This is actually building your experience of what's going on in their mind.
I get it. No, I get it. I think that is an excellent way to do. And you weren't a pain in the ass in the beginning. I think that you were just prefacing it and framing it out. I think that is excellent idea. And the other thing that I want to say is there is a way. I think that there is a way to spark the empathy inside of us all. I think when somebody's going through something tough, whatever that is, it doesn't make a difference, right? What I started to do to sort of grow my empathy muscles was when I hear somebody struggling or see somebody struggling, I think back to a time where I struggled, not necessarily with the same thing, but where I was extremely in a horrible struggle and I couldn't I bring myself to that moment and I ask myself, how did I get through it? So thinking of an experience that was hard and painful of your own, I believe that helps with. Now it's how you deliver that, right? Like we can have a whole session about this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. How to deliver empathy, because if somebody is struggling with something and you come in and sort of steamroll their feelings and say, well, I went through the same thing, or I went through something similar, and this is how I got through.
Yeah.
You lost them. That's not being empathetic.
Well, I think we just hit next week topic.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be a great idea to talk about that. So keep note of that. Empathy, how to increase empathy and grow and build a strong personal brand with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think something along those lines would be great. So awesome. I know you have a back-to-back live on Thursday, so I'm going to let you go and prep for that. I want to thank all of you guys today for joining us on YouTube, joining us on Instagram. If you have any questions, comments, drop them in the comments below, and I'll make sure Lee gets a hold of them as well. Again, if you guys are getting value out of our conversations and out of our content, please share it. Go check out my friend Lee on Instagram as well. It's the Lee Rawley, Rowley. He's got some great content over there as well. And if you haven't checked out the link in my bio, it is a 26-minute mini webinar on how to scale your expertise and really attract the right clients for your business. I think you'll get a lot of value out of it, and it will make you think a lot differently on how to grow your personal brand and business in 2020, which is right around the corner. So any parting words, Lee?
Man, we got a few months left, and we're going to make a really good month. So we're digging in, and glad to have you along with us, because I think that 2020 is going to be an amazing year for a lot of us, and we're going to start it off right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, have an amazing day, guys, and I'll catch you on the next live next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Take care, guys.
See you guys.